Zama, how are you?
Thank you.
Okay, so your mandate at the NEF is to promote broad-based Black economic empowerment and ensure townships and rural entrepreneurs are also included in that. You did an interview with Newsroom Africa a while back where you mentioned that you have trained more than 4,800 entrepreneurs. How are you able to measure the success of those entrepreneurs? And if some have failed, how are you supporting them in bringing them back up into the system again? Thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon all. I'm actually encouraged to see a semi-full room, even though we've got the graveyard shift. So I think it shows promise to us and that we're still committed to the cause of advancing triple BEE. Thank you for mentioning our mandate, because I think it's such an important starting point in positioning who we are as the NEF, why we exist, and why we need to continue to exist, right? So we're the only agency of government that is solely mandated to deal with triple BEE. Other DFIs, it might be a secondary or tertiary consideration. It is not necessarily a primary condition. So when we talk about wanting to broaden the base or the numbers of Black-owned businesses or SMEs, we need to look at where the money, particularly from government, where there is some sort of transparency, is going, which entities are being supported by the DFIs, and I think we need to take them to task if we're not happy with the demographic and geographic spread that we see when we analyze those annual reports, particularly where Black-owned businesses, or where women-owned businesses are, and where youth-owned businesses are. So you mentioned something that speaks to our mandate, where we give both non-financial and financial support, right? Because the funding or the credit application is not the panacea. It's actually a whole comprehensive package of support that you must give to ensure that these entities are sustainable and that they do survive that 5-year rate, and we can reduce that failure rate of 70% that my colleague has mentioned. So yes, we've trained, right now the number sitting over 5,000 entrepreneurs. These are would-be entrepreneurs, right? These are not necessarily our people that we have funded, but these are people with ideas who sit in an environment where they are taken through how to do that pitch, you know, crystallizing what it is that you're offering. I think my colleague from ITC mentioned that. So how do we measure the success of our businesses? We have KPIs like any other organization, and we are tasked to deploy the capital that we are allocated on an annual basis. And because of the moral fiber and what my colleague spoke about, the commitment within the whole entire staff to advancing triple BEE, we've been able to do very much with very little. So we measure our KPIs. To date, we've been able to provide 13 billion, which pales in comparison to the figures of other DFIs, right? And we must ask ourselves why that is. Are we happy with that? Because of that 13 billion approved, we've been able to deploy 9 billion into the economy. This is to Black people. And we've been able to see a return of capital in excess of 5 billion. So we're debunking a lot of myths around Black-owned businesses and SMEs and the ability to pay us back. And you mentioned something like, we don't want, you know, how do we deal with this requirement of 5-year financial statements and the like? And because we are so dedicated and so invested in the sector that we play in, we can piece together management accounts from bank statements, from invoices. We've done that, and that's what you need to do, I guess, at that bottom tier that my colleague was referring to, because you will not get people that are information ready, and if that is going to prevent you, then you will never support them. So you have to roll up your hands and assist that, and that's something that we do throughout our regional offices, and that is an ethos that's shared right from our CEO to our investment analysts that interact with our stakeholders. But I think what's important over and above the number of transactions that we do is what we call our empowerment dividend. So VP spoke about where's the development, how I want to see the development. we track this on an annual basis to say, you promised us so many jobs, where are we with those jobs? You were supposed to be an empowered business. We want you to stay empowered to the extent, to the level that you were at when we funded you. Otherwise, that constitutes a breach of contract, right? And there are a lot of people who get through the system, especially when it comes to licensing and so forth, where it's not monitored post-implementation, that the shareholding structure looks broad-based, but, come back 10 years, 15 years later, those bad people have been diluted to virtually zero through dilution and so-called equity calls that they can't follow their rights on. So those are the challenges that we need to concern ourselves with when we speak about things like that. So I think I'll pause there on that question.
Thank you. And just to continue with regards to women empowerment, we see that a lot of women-owned businesses face many challenges. You have women who are vendors, who get robbed, literally robbed of their money that they make. You get some women who are married in community of property and cannot take decisions without their husbands. And therefore there's a lack of assets and there's refusal or inability to provide surety for loans. How is the NEF addressing these challenges and ensuring that it does not continue to increase? Thank you.
I think, thanks for that question. It's quite loaded. But intention drives action, And my colleague said something that I wanted to highlight as well, that you cannot, you cannot test that which you haven't measured. So if you don't have a measure, you don't have a sense of, are you there yet in terms of your internal aspirations as a company, given the impact that you want to achieve. So we understood those challenges, particularly because maybe we've got a strong women representation at the NEF, so those issues find themselves to the tables of the investment committee. And so a strategy was formulated in 2014 to say we're going to intentionally set up, a women-only fund. We call it a women empowerment fund, where it must be majority Black women owned, right? We do like it if women have a 10%, a 30% stake. That's important in various transactions for whatever strategic considerations you may have. But we're intentional to say, actually, we're setting aside our, 25% of our budget must be to majority Black women owned. And I don't think other DFIs do that. And perhaps we should challenge them on this platform, because that's the only way we will start to see these returns. So with that intention and with the culture inculcated, in most of the people that serve within the NEF, and those principles cascading down, we've been able to ensure that 40% of the monies that we've disbursed have been for the benefit of women. And that's something we stand proud of, and we challenge our counterparts, and not that we challenge them and wait for them to fail, but we're saying we're here to share our lessons that we've learned. We're here to collaborate with the private sector and with government as well. And I think I wanted maybe to use this opportunity once again, and our BBC colleagues are familiar with that, but maybe for the benefit of the members. If you think about the intention and supporting BBBE and the NEF with its 19-year track record of, unqualified audit opinions, initially when the NEF was established, there was a promise of 10 billion rand. And that 10 billion rand never flowed to the NEF. So only 2.5 billion has flowed. So when I mentioned that we've approved 13 billion, you must ask yourself, where did the balance come from? And so those are the things we should concern ourselves. And so we've developed a strategy when we do partner with private sector institutions, to manage their ED funds, but make sure that we provide affordable funding to the beneficiaries in those sectors. So some of those include BP, they include Transnet, which was on stage earlier on, and we're now in our second round of those partnerships with them. So I'm mentioning those to say, actually, we in this room can solve for some of these problems, to making sure that, you know, when you've got that ED budget, it is going towards majority Black-owned businesses with, you know, strong emphasis on women-owned businesses as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Zama. I think what I'm getting from you is that the work is being done, and we applaud you for that. And everybody who's sitting here, the work is being done. That's what's coming through from this panel. Mr. Monte, I'm coming to you now.